There are people that sell PowerPoint presentations that they made on AI for $10,000. There is a woman that you can hire to listen to you. She doesn't say a word. She's not a therapist. She's not trained. She charges $75 an hour and she will just listen to you. Literally every job in the world exists because people will pay for absolutely anything. So while you're sitting there thinking over your prices, not feeling confident, unsure if someone will pay for it, there is someone who is running a business with a service, with an offer, with a product that you would never ever think to pay for. And you have the audacity to ask yourself if you are worthy of the money you desire. On today's episode of the Quantum Wealth Podcast, I just want to blow up the story that no one will pay X amount of price. No one will pay premium. No one will pay the price that I want to charge, because here's the thing. The market has proven that literally you can charge anything. There is something for everyone. There is something that exists at every price point. So it's not about what the market will pay. It's about you, your pricing, and how you feel about it. So let's start with some real world examples. I want to talk about things where there is a market at every single price point. And I think you will find evidence of this in your own life for basically anything you can think of. But here's some of my favorite things to think about. Coffee. People will pay anything for coffee. You can go to 7-Eleven and get a coffee. You can go to the grocery store and get it for a few cents. You can go to Starbucks, even though you shouldn't go to Starbucks, and let me tell you why. They have the largest wage gap of any S&P company on the market. Their CEO makes 6,666 times their average employee, and the workers have been on strike for forever, and it's not working because people are going to Starbucks, but I digress. You can also go to the Four Seasons and get a coffee delivered to your room. You can go on the Ritz Carlton yacht. Oh my gosh, one of my vision board vacations, and they will deliver it to your room, and it's included in your $10,000, $12,000 vacation. There is a price point for literally everything. You can buy a handbag at Walmart. You can buy a handbag at Macy's. You can buy a handbag at Hermes and have to get on the wait list, and you have to buy certain things first before they'll even approve you to buy a $30,000 bag. People buy based on price as one of the factors. When you go to the grocery store, you may buy certain items because of the price. And then you also might buy certain items not because of the price, because they're organic, because of the way the chickens are treated for your eggs. There's so many things that go into a decision-making factor when you are buying, and price is only one of them. And here's the thing about premium pricing. When it comes to premium pricing, people are buying because of perceived value, and really they're always buying because of perceived value. But when people are paying for a luxury item or something that's premium, it's not necessarily going to make sense logically. It's an emotional decision because that's how people buy, based on how they feel, based on emotions, especially for things that are not items that they need, items that are wants, which so many of my clients and so many entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast are selling. And so let's talk about premium pricing and how to get yourself to a level that you feel good charging it, because trust me, we have all been there where we don't feel comfortable charging a certain amount or what we want. And I literally found myself there recently. So I was asked to speak at a few different events this year. And for the first one, I thought of what I was paid for the last event, and that was definitely too low. So I bumped it up 50%. And I knew it was low, but it was an event that I wanted to speak at. And so I quoted it. Then when I was speaking to my coach about it, she was like, "I'm sorry, you quoted what? It is so low." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll double it for the next one." And she was like, "No, that's still too low." So I was thinking about all the time that went into it, all the value I offer. And I was like, okay, you're right. It needs to be 4 times this amount. So the next event I got an inquiry for, I quoted it at 4 times the amount of that first event. And literally the next business day, they were like, "Okay, done." I even offered an add-on, and she was like, "Yep, yeah, I want that too." So I want you to take this as evidence that people will pay things, and this happens to all of us. We all get in this position where we're questioning our value, and we tend to give the price that feels safe, that feels comfortable, and that makes it really hard for us to sell. It makes it hard for us to show up the way we want to show up. It makes us resentful of the work we do sometimes because we're like, oh my gosh, this is the price. It's not even worth it. And it really puts us in scarcity, which we don't want to be in scarcity because there is absolutely enough and there's enough for everyone. And you can charge any amount. And so let me tell you about another client I was working with, and she was opening a new business, and it was a little bit different than her other business, similar, but she wanted a luxury clientele, a premium clientele. And she was telling herself this story of, I can't charge that because the other business charges this. I have all this evidence that people charge this. And so we got down to it. We broke it down. We coached through it. And she found out that none of that was true. And now her new business is charging not double what her current business charges, but so much more, which makes sense for the business model. It's a different clientele. It's a premium product. Even the expenses are much higher because of that. And I want you to take this as more evidence that buyers are out there. Buyers exist at every price point. So it's really important for you to get crystal clear on what you want to be charging, the clients that you want to attract, and go from there, because there is literally a market for everything, which means that there's a market for you, for what you want to sell, for what you want to be known for, and that you can sell this at any price point. It's really up to you. As a coach, this is the biggest example, I feel like. There are coaches who charge $50 a session. I believe Tony Robbins charges $100,000 an hour. And there are people that find value in that have paid that have gotten the worth out of it. So I want you to take this as permission that you can charge whatever you want to be charging. The demand will exist, especially if you have proven it, if you are not an entry-level entrepreneur, because I do think pricing is a little bit different. When you're first starting out, you're first gaining evidence, you're first gaining traction, clients, testimonials, it's very different. But if you're an established entrepreneur, the buyers already exist. They're real, and choosing to charge more is not greedy. It is positioning your products, your service, your offer to a certain client, because there are also people that buy things based off of price. There's a marketing coach that I follow, and she said that when she got really clear on who her client was and she realized that she had been underpricing, she quadrupled her prices or something crazy and sold out immediately because she was positioning herself and pricing herself too cheap, that people thought that she wasn't going to be good. So I also want you to find an example of that in your own life. Has there ever been anything where you're like, oh, I'm not buying that because it seems too good to be true, so it probably is? And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But I think that's such a good reminder for us that the number that you think is too cheap, someone else thinks is too expensive. And no matter what you come up with as the number, someone's always going to think it's too cheap and someone is also going to think it's too expensive. What pricing are you assuming won't sell? And how is that holding you back in your business? Here's the question that I really want you to ask yourself. What price do you want? Because you can create problems or solutions at any price point. For example, if you keep your price low, you may need a lot more people at a certain price point to get to your goal. If your price is high, then you may have a challenge selling it, but you get to decide the thoughts that you're telling yourself about selling your item. So choose them wisely. Choose the price that would feel good to you so that you can work with those thoughts and feel good about it. And I also want you to take yourself out of your client's wallet. So often, the irony is we don't see the value in our own services or wouldn't pay the amount because we're an expert. So for example, I have clients who are insanely gifted at marketing and charge a certain amount, and they will say, no one's going to pay that. I would never pay that. Of course you would never pay that. You don't have to. This is your zone of genius. This is so easy for you. But what takes you an hour would take someone else 5 hours, 10 hours. The reason you're so good at this is because of all the countless hours you've poured into it. So get yourself out of your client's wallet. Also, when you get into your client's wallet, you're putting your limiting beliefs on them. And I see this really often in masterminds, like in networking groups, not in curated masterminds, but where it's anyone can join. They're not invite only, which is how I always like to run a mastermind, because you can take on so many people's limiting beliefs of the room that you're in, of the clients that you're on. So we all have limiting beliefs. We all have thoughts about pricing. And so my ask to you is to not put those on your client, because maybe the reason you think something is expensive, they had never thought of that. Or maybe they think it's expensive for a completely different reason, but you putting that belief on them is really not your place. It's not your business. It's just when we talk about money beliefs, like what money beliefs did you take on that you did consciously, or which ones did you inherit? And so often we find that our money beliefs were inherited. They're not even ours. We're not choosing them. So the same way you don't want those, I don't want you to put those beliefs on other people. It's really not fair, and you could be holding them back. Because here's the thing about the way people spend money. People spend money on what is important to them, and you don't gauge or decide what's important to someone. They see the value in something and they pay for it, or they don't. And that's really none of your business. Your job is to show up and really to offer as much value as humanly possible for your gifts with what you can share with the world. And your job is to receive, to do that. Your job is also to give back. Absolutely, of course, I want you to be giving back, but you have to also be able to receive at a place that feels good for you. So if you are at a point where you're not really feeling good about your pricing, I have something for you. I am hosting a live workshop on September 1st, and we are going to be talking all about pricing. It is called How to Raise Your Prices. It is for entrepreneurs who are already established and want to get to the next level. Because here's the thing, the math that got you to your first 6 figures is not going to get you to the next one. So we're going to do the math together. The math is important, but it's not the most important piece. We're really going to focus on the energetics of the pricing. How do you get to that premium price that you want to be at? And how do you hold it so that someone will really pay for it? And then the mindset piece around that, because that is really the most important piece when it comes to pricing, is how you hold it. And your mindset will act as a mirror of what other people would pay. I would love to have you there live, but there's also going to be a replay if you can't make it live. And there's also a VIP upgrade where you can coach with me and talk about your pricing and everything that this brings up. And speaking of pricing, it's totally affordable. It's a great add-on. If you've been thinking of working with me, this is a great taster to get into my world at a great price. It's $149. The upgrade is only $55. I would love to see you there. And until next Thursday, happy manifesting. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you're still here, I know you're serious about quantum leaping your income, and that commitment is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Here's what I want you to do next. Pick one insight from today and take action on it. Because here's the thing, transformation happens in the implementation, not just the inspiration. If this episode shifted something for you, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. It helps other ambitious, heart-centered women find the show. And if you're ready to take this work deeper and finally break through that income plateau, I'd love to invite you to book a discovery call with me. Because here's the thing, podcasts give you the what, but coaching gives you the how. It's what takes you from, I know what I should be doing, to, holy shit, I actually did it. Head to the show notes or to jillianminter.com to grab your spot on my calendar. Until next week, keep choosing abundance over scarcity, alignment over hustle, and remember, you're meant for more. You just have to believe it's yours.